Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow dregs of society. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all of you who Joe Biden says live under a rock. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today as my co host is the Doctor for the Republic, Dr. Wright. That is Dr. Nasser Sheikh. Nasser, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hello, Rick. Welcome to you too. And let's start out by saying it's just another great day to be alive and well and free and living in the United States of America, the greatest country in the history of the world. And as you know, behind you, you've got the American flag.
Yep, there it is.
I've got the American flag behind me with, if you can see, my Mount Rushmore of various conservatives. And what else is more American than the flag? Hey, football. 2 years ago, fortunate enough to go see the Super Bowl, the Patriots with that amazing comeback against the Falcons. So we got a couple of things, got my little jacket on here as well. And we are ready to rock and roll here as we're another week of greatness. What else can we say?
Well, last year was terrific for me, being a Philadelphia Eagles fan. We had our moment of glory last year, and perhaps you, as a Patriots fan, will have yours once again this year.
That's true. That's tough last year for us.
Right. Well, Nasser, the government's open again. They're open for business. My life wasn't altered that much when it was closed. Well, how about yours?
No, not particularly. I mean, maybe it shows people around the United States and, hopefully around the world that, we can get by without, 10, 20, 30% of government. I mean, they do call them, what is it? What's the word that they're using for those people? Not
Unessential.
Unessential.
Unessential government
unessential.
workers.
Isn't it amazing that government puts out these words, unessential people? And then you have to scratch your head and go, well, if they're unessential, what the hell are we doing? But that's what government does. Essentially, government is unessential.
And Nasser, they say, well, this is just a small fraction of the total government workers. 800,000 unessential government workers. So you have to ask the question, well, how many employees does the federal government have? I mean, my gosh, other than the military.
Right.
I'd like to know the number of essential government workers there are.
I'll tell you what. You know who is essential? The Army, the Navy,
That's it.
Marines, the Coast Guard, the Rangers, the SEALs. I mean, whoever, the fire police, the police, the fire police, the defenders. I mean, those are the essentials.
Right.
Those are the essentials.
All right. And also in the news, Kamala Harris has made an announcement that she is a candidate for the Democrat nomination in 2020.
She's come out. She wanted to be the first one, made the big splash, and all of a sudden now, you know what? Everything is coming out of the closet. We already heard about, we're talking about, they're calling her horizontal. I think the nickname, the hashtag it's Kamala Harris, correct?
I don't know.
So they're calling her Horizontal Harris.
Oh.
Because they're basically, betting her way to the top is what they're
Well, maybe we better go into the details so people aren't thinking we're just being nasty. And the details,
we're not.
the details are former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown has addressed his past extramarital relationship with U.S. Senator Kamala Harris, saying he may have boosted the presidential hopeful's career. And Brown says, yes, we dated. Yes, I may have influenced her career by appointing her to 2 state commissions when I was in the California Assembly as Speaker. I certainly helped her in her first race for district attorney. Brown appointed Harris, about 30 years his junior, Harris, just a few years out of law school, to 2 well-paid state commission assignments on the Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board and the California Medical Assistance Commission. Whether you agree or disagree with the system, I did the work, Harris said in 2003. I brought a level of life knowledge and common sense to the jobs. The former mayor also connected Harris with campaign donors, which helped her outraise her opponent for San Francisco District Attorney. Brown's involvement in her election raised questions as to how Harris would remain impartial given his enormous political clout. Questions about Brown's relationship with Harris grew anew after she announced her 2020 presidential bid. Well, there you go, Nasser. It's a lesson in how to succeed in politics.
Absolutely. And this is for Democrats, this is like a notch in the chastity belt, basically, isn't it? Right? I mean, Republicans do it, you're going to get slammed. But Democrats, that's a notch in the belt, or chastity belt in this thing. I mean, it's just amazing.
So in this, Willie Brown, former mayor of San Francisco, admitted that he gave patronage jobs to someone he was sleeping with that launched her political career.
Isn't there something against trading sexual favors isn't there something on the statutes? Isn't that illegal, or is it just immoral, or whatever?
No, it's only illegal or immoral if you're Donald Trump or another Republican. As you say, this is a badge of honor for a Democrat.
Absolutely.
So this is a little lesson in politics for all of you out there who want to know, how do you get in politics? How do you get linked up in politics? How do you meet people that will give you cushy, high-paying jobs? How do you meet people that will help you fundraise? Just ask Kamala Harris. Just ask Kamala Harris.
Incredible.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, Nasser, I love it when Democrats eat their own. I really do. When people eat their own. And I wanted to get your reaction to this. NBC News veteran Tom Brokaw apologized Sunday following a wave of backlash for his comments he made on Meet the Press about Hispanic people. Mr. Brokaw, correspondent for NBC, claimed on Meet the Press panel Sunday morning that Hispanics needed to do a better job to assimilating to American culture. And he said, I also happen to believe that Hispanics should work harder to assimilate. That's one of the things I've been saying for a long time. They ought to not be just codified in their communities, but make sure that all their kids are learning to speak English and that they feel comfortable in the communities, and that's going to take outreach on both sides, frankly. Wow! The liberals didn't want to hear that. But before I went on further, Nasser, I wanted to talk about your experience. Your family came here from Pakistan, and I wanted to talk with you about, did Tom Brokaw get it right? That people need to assimilate into our society to be able to make it here.
That's true. They have to. Nobody is saying that when people have, and I always talk about this, Dinesh D'Souza uses a phrase that people, they vote with their feet. Immigrants vote with their feet because they're the ones that wanted to come here and chase the American dream. But that doesn't mean that if you're coming from Europe or Asia or from the Middle East or wherever it is, that you decide, we're not going to, our cooking, whatever, customs you have, those kind of things. You want to keep all of that. Mm-hmm. But what you have to be is your allegiance should be to America first. And you want to, and meld with that, take some of the, and what are some of the things that we look at in America? I mean, the foods that are there, a lot of them were, the foods, what do you want to say? The customs, the things that we do,
Well,
the songs.
Nasser,
All
I
mixed.
love Italian food.
Yes,
I love Chinese food. So I don't have a problem with that, but I believe, and Tom Brokaw said that people need to learn English.
they do. And
They
you know
need
what?
to learn English. But
That
then
is true, Rick.
But
You know,
then
but
the media and the liberals come after him. And Nasser, we got to take a break, and maybe after the break we could talk about this a little bit more. And we
absolutely,
also
I just
had
one
three
comment
great
to add.
guests. We got three great guests joining us, but you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, spoken in English, and protected by the Second Amendment. Don't go away. Nasser and I will be right back.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty
Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty HealthShare has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty HealthShare is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcasts of our shows, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Dr. Sheikh, we've got three great guests joining us once again today.
We do. And they're going to be talking about topics that are really current. So we've got three great guests. Our first guest is going to be Miss Charlotte Hayes. She's the Director of Cultural Programs at the Independent Women's Forum. She's going to be talking about illegal immigrants and crime and talk about, the numbers. So that's something that's obviously, really, really big. It's been in the news and it's right there front and center once again.
Right.
Second guest is going to be Mr. Craig Richardson. He's the president of the Energy and Environment Legal Institute. He's going to be talking about this Green New Deal is a prescription for poverty. And our last guest is going to be a Miss Ellen Swenson. She's the chief analyst for the Election Integrity Project in California. And her topic and her written piece is Get Ready, California-style elections are coming to a state near you. So three great guests that we've got on the show for today, Rick.
Absolutely, indeed. And well, Nasser, before we went to the break, we were talking about Tom Brokaw. Tom Brokaw went on Meet the Press and said that Hispanics need to assimilate more into American society and culture and speak English. Well, the left absolutely blasted him. And, earlier I was saying that Mr. Brokaw has said that he has felt and has said these things for many years. Well, I guess he didn't say it too loudly because he said it on 60 Minutes last week, and the left has come out and absolutely blasted him. Well, he has retracted from that. He says, I feel terrible. a part of my comments on Hispanics offended some members of that proud culture. From my days reporting on Cesar Chavez to documenting the contributions of Hispanics in many parts of our cultures, all worked hard to knock down false stereotypes. My final comment in Meet the Press, I have to work harder in finding common ground, which I strongly believe dialogue, not division. I'm sorry, truly sorry, my comments were offensive to many. The great enduring American tradition of diversity is to be celebrated and cherished. Let's go forward and work together. And that was Tom Brokaw walking back his comments. Again, Nasser, I think he was right the first time when he's saying that Hispanics, and I'll say this, all people coming to our country need to assimilate into our society, need to speak English.
And you know, it seems that every ethnic group that has immigrated and come here legally, they have definitely done that. You know, the Italians did it, the French did it. I mean, you take it, you know, they all came here. And you know what happens? People from Vietnam, from Japan, from China, from India, from Pakistan, that's what they stress all the time. They do try to assimilate. Sure, you've got some within the community that still do not. That's going to happen everywhere. You're not going to get 100%, you know, cooperation or 100% assimilation. But that is the goal, and that's what most of the people that come here for. However, there is a lot of money to be made because the number of Hispanic and Latino people that are here, that's a huge, huge group, much greater than a small group of just Vietnamese or Chinese or Indian or from Pakistan or from the Middle East or whatever. So you've got a huge voting bloc there. You've got money that's being poured into these places. And then plus, with our southern border, you've got the way that they easily come across, whereas some of these other countries, you know, you've got across bodies of water or have other means of coming across. So, you know, Tom Brokaw was right the first time, but these guys, they have no guts whatsoever. I mean, as soon as they get hit on Twitter, as soon as they get hit on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, and they start seeing the flurry come back, these guys fold like a cheap tent every single time. No guts. They have no guts, none whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, now, sir, another thing I wanted to talk to you about is I'm not located too far from New York City. And from time to time during the year, the wife and I like to travel to New York City to see a show, to go to a restaurant. But as long as Andrew Cuomo is the governor, the wife and I will no longer be going to New York. And that's because Andrew Cuomo has saying that anybody who is against abortion has no place in New York. The wife and I will not be spending our money in New York City.
Good for you. Good for you. It's just incredible. You know, they say that, you know, the devil or Satan, you know, lurks in various places. I truly, truly believe that Satan is, you know, Andrew Cuomo is the embodiment of whatever entity, you know, satanic it is. I mean, for this, and not only that, the chamber, when they pass this measure.
And tell our audience what the measure is we're talking about, Nasser.
Basically, the measure is that you can literally abort, murder a baby right up until the time it comes out of the vaginal canal. Literally. And you see a bunch of memes coming out that I was born at, you know, 11:59. I was dead at 12 midnight. I mean, that's exactly what that is. Not only that, everyone's exempt. If a physician does that and something happens, they're exempt from prosecution. The mother who's doing this is going to be exempt from, you know, getting anything penalized against her. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And they're showing babies. I mean, 18 days you can hear a heartbeat. And not only that, the New York Chamber, when they voted for this measure, everybody, well, the people that voted for it stood up and clapped. And this is the same mayor, this is the same governor.
For death.
This is the same governor who basically said that, you know what was inhumane? The death penalty. Now, put those two together. The death penalty is inhuman. It's inhumane to apply. But you can kill full-term babies now, past the 24-week period. I mean, this is pure evil. And there's talk about excommunicating him from the church. But
by the way, he's a Catholic.
Where's the Catholic Church on this?
The Archbishop in New York said that he wouldn't excommunicate him. You
try to talk to it, and then your tongue gets tied because you're wondering what is happening.
Yeah, indeed. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. So anyway, that's this is where our society has gone, Nasser. Forget laws, forget regulations, forget morality, and I could get off on this morality thing. They talk about the toxic masculinity.
Yes.
What I think we have is a toxic immorality.
Yes.
And I think that this is proof positive where the Democrat Party is going, where their leaders are going. People like Kamala Harris, people like Ocasio-Cortez, people like Maxine Waters, people like Chuck Schumer, people like Nancy Pelosi. We are, in our way of life, and the Judeo-Christian ethics, the patriotic moral ethics that our founding fathers created this country on, is totally under attack. Hey, Nasser, we do have to take a break, and you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network and around the world on Al Gore's amazing internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, AM/FM 24/7, Leading Edge Radio Network, and now broadcast as part of the AUN Television Network. Don't go away. Right on the other side, we'll be speaking with one of my favorite guests, Charlotte Hayes from the Independent Women's Forum, talking about illegal immigrants and crime. What do the numbers really say? Don't go away. We will be right back.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
Together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
And thank you for staying with us once again. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, and broadcast on the AUN television network. Nasser, our first guest, is with us. Please be nice to her because she's a very good friend of mine. Take it away.
Always, Rick, always. We have Charlotte Hayes, who is the Director of Cultural Programs at the Independent Women's Forum. Charlotte's appeared on programs such as Politically Incorrect, C-SPAN's Washington Journal, and the PBS's To the Contrary. She's a former correspondent for the National Catholic Register and is a feature writer at the Washington Times. Her work has appeared in the Wall Street Journal, New York Magazine, the Washington Post, and the Weekly Standard. Charlotte, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and be nice to me.
Well, listen, the article that you wrote Very, very intriguing. Very, very well done. Illegal immigrants and crime. What do the numbers really say? So, Charlotte, give an idea. Obviously, with this whole thing happening with the border wall, this controversy that continues to swell, where they continue to conflate. And this is the part that really, really, really urinates me off when I talk to people, is that they conflate a murder that has occurred on American soil due to an illegal alien and a murder that's committed on American soil due to an American citizen. And I think those are two yes, they're both evil acts, but one could have been avoided. The other one we're not sure about. And so how do these numbers play into that question?
Well, it's interesting. You know, one of the key points that President Trump always makes is that if we had a border wall, crime would go down. Now, the left mocks him for this. How ridiculous. Illegal immigrants don't commit any more crimes than citizens. In fact, they commit fewer, the left will say. But is that really the truth? Well, there was a terrific piece in City Journal this week. Barry Latzer, who is a professor emeritus at John Jay College, it's a college, as you know, that studies crime, he actually looked at the numbers. Now, caveat, we don't have a lot of data. For example, we know that 43% of the people in prison in California incarcerated are Hispanics, but we don't know what that means because California doesn't really look into illegal immigrant statistics. But Texas does. Good old Texas does. And so what they found, and this is really, really interesting, in Texas they found that illegal immigrants committed 298,000 crimes between 2011 and 2018. Now, that's 39,000 crimes a year. We don't know how that fits into the population of illegal immigrants because, obviously, we don't know how many illegal immigrants there are. The Department of Homeland Security estimates that about 7.3% of the population of Texas is illegal immigrants, illegal aliens. So that means that they're committing about 10% of apprehended killers in Texas. So basically, that's a pretty astonishing number. And incidentally, homicide provides the best numbers, murders and homicide, because other crimes often don't get solved. Homicide is a crime that does get solved. So, you know, this is not an overwhelmingly high rate, but it's a high rate. And Latzer says the rates and percentages for this are just, you know, they're crimes that did not have to happen in this country. And so what's the bottom line about all of this? I'm going to read from Barry Latzer, who's the John Jay scholar who wrote this piece, who looked at the statistics. And he says, no amount of crime by those who enter this country unlawfully should be accepted because it's extra crime that wouldn't occur if our border were effective. Crime by illegal aliens is costly. Judging by the Texas figures, though not incontestable, the answer about the wall seems to be yes. So, I mean, you know, we don't have as much data as we have, but I think Barry Latzer makes the point that you made, which is all of this is extra crime. It doesn't have to happen in our country.
I mean, I basically say, like, for example, let's say you were living in a small community and you knew that there was, you know, a small population of child, you know, molesters in your area. And you knew exactly the finite number. And then they say, well, you know what? You wouldn't want to say that let's bring in some more child molesters into your area and add to the problem. We're trying to solve the problem or get rid of the problem. And here, you know, the left doesn't look. The other question I have to ask you, Charlotte, is this more, when we're talking about these assaults, murders, and rapes and whatever, are these more like Hispanic on Hispanic crime or illegal Hispanics or Latinos on whether they're legal or illegal Hispanics, or is this Hispanic crime on white, or we don't even know that stuff?
You know, I don't think we know that. Barry Latzer doesn't tell us. But listen, a murder, no matter what the racial makeup is, somebody's dead. Whether you're killed by somebody of your race or another race, you're pretty dead. And I think what we want to stick with is whether you're legal or illegal. And in Texas, they have about 39,000 illegal crimes a year. Illegal crimes. That sounds crazy, and it is. They have about 39,000 crimes committed by illegal aliens every year, or they did between, I think, 2011 and 2018. So you're talking about serious crime. We don't know the statistics, and we really should, but I think the left really doesn't want us to keep statistics. But anyway, all of this mocking of President Trump on this, saying, they don't commit more crimes than other people, it just ain't true. I mean, maybe they don't. What's not true is that it's irrelevant. It's very relevant.
No, you're absolutely correct. A death is a death no matter what. But it's what we talk about. Could that have been avoidable? That's the big question. How do you avoid, importing even more?
You have a border that they can't get past.
Absolutely. And then if you had a border, I've always said this, and I use myself as an example. God forbid if something were to happen to one of my loved ones, or a child, or a family member, and it had happened, like we said, because of someone that was already here and legal. That's in terms of that happening, you can face that. But to know that something could have occurred by someone that shouldn't have been here, that is much more harder to take. And it is. And when these angel moms and angel parents and mothers and fathers, when you see them and what's been taken away from them, nobody is talking about it from the perspective of the victim side, unfortunately. And so I'd like to, if you could comment on that.
And what makes this really even more tragic is that some of these people have been people from sanctuary cities, and the authorities withheld them from ICE. So basically, it didn't have to happen because they shouldn't have been here illegally, and it a second time didn't have to happen because ICE should have picked them up and taken them. But, oh no, idealists are keeping this from happening. I mean, the Kate Steinle killing is an absolute example of this. The guy was not convicted. He said he killed her by accident. Well, the accident wouldn't have happened if he hadn't been here, if in fact it was an accident.
Well, in that case, when they did prosecute him initially, wasn't it a hung jury, and then they had to take it to the federal level?
I really don't know. I think it was not a hung jury, but I just don't know. I do know that he basically wasn't convicted. He said it was an accident.
It was an accident, correct. And Charlotte, you write in here where basically that as these numbers are coming through, that they're difficult to interpret. And I think you touched on it because we don't know the number. And my question is, in a country, in a place in the government, where almost every single number is taken into account, why is it? Does Mr. Latzer, does he talk about the reason?
He didn't talk about that, but I'm going to speculate that the reason we don't know. Well, first of all, the reason we don't know the numbers is if you're here illegally, you hide. You don't go out and say, "Hey, I'm here illegally, count me in." But another thing we should mention is that there's a huge. The left really doesn't want the census to ask the one question that really matters: are you a citizen? Because they want big populations in certain places, but they don't want you to know if it's a lot of illegals because it might affect their representation in government and it might affect the amount of aid they get. So basically, we don't know because they hide. You don't admit if you're an illegal alien. You try to hide it. And we don't know because the left doesn't want us to know. So there are two reasons.
Now, does Mr. Latzer, does he go into anything in terms of where, gang related, in terms of MS-13 and the numbers of the various gang members, what percentage are the illegal alien population and how they've sort of formed the gangs here in the United States?
No, he didn't go into gangs. This was a story about numbers, and in fact, he talked about the fact that Texas does have some numbers that most states don't, and he also mentioned that an often cited Cato Institute study indicated that illegals did not commit more crime, but the factual basis of that study is questionable. They were relying on questionable facts. Needless to say, the left is just seized on this Cato study, and you see a lot about it. I mean, no, he didn't deal with MS-13. It was basically a story that said, what are the numbers? And other than Texas, he didn't really deal with the numbers because we don't have very many numbers.
Incredible.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with Charlotte Hayes. She's the Director of Cultural Programs at the Independent Women's Forum, and we're discussing illegal immigrants and crime. What do the numbers really say? Hey, Charlotte, we need to take a quick break. Could you stay with us, please?
I absolutely could if you'll have me back.
Oh, absolutely. And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network.
It may come as a shock to Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller, but you do not need 27 FBI agents, machine guns, and night goggles, and all kinds of paraphernalia to apprehend a 70-year-old white-collar political consultant who's in bed in the morning. That was the overkill that was used to arrest Stone. Obviously, it's designed to strike terror into people, and it's using the police not just to apprehend someone, but to terrorize him and terrorize his family. Thank God Roger doesn't have any young children who could be perpetually traumatized by this incident. It's indicative of Mueller's overkill. I mean, he's wanted for perjury. That's sort of like the ultimate nonviolent crime. But what's behind what Mueller is doing? Very simply, he has constructed this scenario, I would call it a fantasy, in which Donald Trump asked Assange, the head of WikiLeaks, to leak Hillary's emails during her convention and subsequently in return for Trump giving Assange a pardon. Okay? That's the scenario that he's been trying to prove. And to do that, he needs the testimony of either Trump or Paul Manafort, who visited Ecuador, where Assange was being held before the convention, allegedly on other business. Roger Stone, who allegedly was asked by someone, probably Trump, to contact WikiLeaks and find out if they had any more damaging material, and who's from the top of his lungs shouted all over the place that he knows what WikiLeaks can do. John Corsi, who also said that he knew what was happening, or Julian Assange himself. So now he has 3 of the 4 under indictment, and he's going to squeeze them to get them to affirm his version of the story. And if they don't, he calls that perjury and lays on the charges. In Stone's case, the perjury is somewhat more muted. It's denying he received emails when in fact he did. But if you get hundreds of emails like I do every day, it's a very common mistake that you can make. In any case, I think that this is all overkill. It's an effort by Mueller to try to prove something that didn't happen. Meddling and collusion directed by Trump involving Russia against Hillary.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America. where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. For a broadcast of our shows, please check out our websites. You can hear the radio version at ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. And the television version can be seen at conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Our guest this segment is Charlotte Hayes. She's the Director of Cultural Programs at the Independent Women's Forum. Charlotte, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate being with y'all.
And we're discussing your article, Illegal Immigrants and Crime. What do the numbers really say? And, you know, in your article, you're discussing Barry Latzer, who was a former professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and there's this debate about, do illegal aliens commit more crimes than non-illegals? But it doesn't matter, Charlotte, if they commit any crimes here on this soil, our soil, that's unnecessary. They shouldn't be here in the first place.
Well, I want to bring up something that we haven't talked about on this issue. You know, people are always saying Trump hates immigrants, and and he's a racist, this, that, and the other. What they don't bring up is, no, Trump doesn't hate immigrants. He simply wants people to come here as legal immigrants. And I think he started making that case and really making it rather eloquently when he held the naturalization ceremony in the Oval Office at the White House 2 Saturdays ago. Mm-hmm. And I think we just really need to make that distinction. He's not anti-immigration. He's not a racist. He doesn't hate immigrants, but he wants people to come here legally. And the other thing I think we should say about the wall that we haven't said is, it really would be a humanitarian thing. Look, if I were in one of these countries, I would probably be trying to walk 1,000 miles and come to the United States. But if you know that there is a wall and you very likely won't make it, you're not going to drag a child 1,000 miles and have the child get sick and come to the United States and really be part of a humanitarian crisis. The wall is a way to end a humanitarian crisis.
Right. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. You and Nasser were also talking about the criminals, and you say they will hide. I will say these figures are probably skewed, Charlotte Hayes, because I think a lot of this violence, other than murder, but robberies and rapes and things like that, are probably Hispanic on Hispanic crime. And because of that, a lot of those crimes are probably never reported because these people are here illegally and they do not want to come out of the woodwork. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Well, I think here's what I would say. A lot of these people live in the shadows, and you don't get statistics that are good when people live in the shadows.
Mm-hmm. Also, the fact that it does not seem any crimes that are committed by illegals don't seem to matter to the left, to the liberals, to the Democrats. You know, and you have in your article, and I believe you're quoting Barry Latzer here, that where is it at? Some of these arrests were for non-violent crimes such as theft, burglary, or drug offenses, but they also include many violent crimes. 624 homicides, 1,911 robberies, 3,955 sexual assaults, which include rape. Now, Charlotte Hayes, if you think those numbers were attributed to guns, I think the left would be jumping out of their skin. Absolutely.
They'd be up in arms. It's funny. The left is really not compassionate towards people who have lost children to violence by illegal immigrants. It's just it's a very strange thing. You would think they would be more compassionate. If Trump is smart, he'll have angel parents at the State of the Union address next week.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I should have said these are statistics coming out of Texas. Texas alone, just one state. And,
right.
Let's talk about the 3,955 sexual assaults. Charlotte Hayes, where's the Me Too crowd? Where's the toxic masculinity crowd on that? They're totally silent.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. And when Trump said that there was sexual violence against women coming up here, walking up here, they got mad at him instead of saying, hey, this is something we should find out about.
Mm-hmm. Charlotte Hayes, I'll tell you something else that a lot of these illegals, another crime that a lot of these illegals commit, and that's identity theft. They commit identity theft when they use a Social Security number that isn't theirs. They commit identity theft when they apply for charge accounts in other people's names. And this is not I think I saw a statistic that 1 in 4 of us have been victims of identity theft. That's not counted in there either. It may not be a violent crime, but Charlotte, have you ever had your identity stolen?
No.
What about you,
I think they want to...
No, I haven't.
Well, we have. My wife had her identity stolen. And it was quite a hassle, and it took about a year to get it straightened out. So
I've known people who've had their identity stolen, and this guy, it took more than a year to get it straightened out, and it was just absolutely a horrendous experience.
Mm-hmm. Also, in your article, you talk about violent crimes and murder. And in here, according to Dr. Latzer, and I'll read here, the crime of homicide provides the most accurate measure, although because a much higher proportion of these murders are solved by the police. You have the figure in here of around 70%. But you also have in here, by contrast, fewer than 15% of property offenses lead to an arrest. And those once again, even though it's not murder, it may not be rape, it may not be a violent crime, but property offenses hurt people, and it helps to damage and destroy lives.
Well, it also hurts to have a vast number of people, as I said, living in the shadows. And I do not think that the answer to this question is to grant everybody citizenship, because the only way people are going to stop coming here illegally is if it doesn't profit them.
All right. Charlotte Hayes, a little off topic, but in your heart, Charlotte Hayes, will we get a wall?
Well, I think we might, yeah. I mean, listen, I am a heretic on the shutdown. I think he did the absolute right thing to end it, because he was never going to get anything out of it, and Pelosi was going to win. The longer it went on. So I think he did the absolute right thing to open the government back up. It was terrible for morale. Now, I'd like to shut part of the government permanently, and I think the fact that we could get along so well without it showed that we could shut a lot of it down and not care at all. I felt sorry for restaurant workers, taxi drivers, cleaning people. I felt sorry for people who don't work for government, and also people who do work for government. I don't like to use people as pawns, but I think he's got a chance of getting it. I think he has to get it, but he has to find a way to negotiate with Democrats and get enough of them to go around Nancy Pelosi.
That'll never happen. The governments will never negotiate with him. They'll never give him a dime for this wall, because all they're looking to do is to destroy his presidency, to get him defeated in 2 years. And they know, no wall, no re-election.
Well, now, what do you think? Will he get the wall?
I think what maybe, and I'm hoping this has been a tactic of his, to say, look, I've tried every which way I can to negotiate with these people, to try to force these people to come to the table. Nothing is working. So here it goes, ladies and gentlemen. The Army Corps of Engineers is going to be on the southern border tomorrow morning, starting the wall.
And what do you think about the legal challenges that will be inevitable?
Well, there's going to be legal challenges. The one good thing is it seems to have, we now have a Supreme Court that
yeah, but they aren't going to judge on whether or not the wall is good or whether or not Trump is good. They're going to judge on whether or not it's legal. And I mean, I don't know whether or not it's legal, but I think it's risky, and I think it might not be legal. I don't know. I hope it is.
Why wouldn't it be legal? I mean, why would it not be legal?
I listen, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know, but I think it's very possible that it's not legal to do that. I don't think you can just declare an emergency and spend money that way. I don't know. Look, Rick, I hope you're right. I think the wall is essential.
Hey, Charlotte, we have to run, but we always enjoy having you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Wait a minute before you go.
Okay.
Please tell our audience how they could follow your work, read your articles, and find out more about the Independent Women's Forum.
IWF.org. We've got plenty of interesting stuff, blogs, and all sorts of things. Please join us.
All right, Charlotte.
I mean, please come to us. I'm not pitching joining, though we would love that too.
All right. Charlotte Hayes, Independent Women's Forum, thank you so much. Great to talk with you. Take care, and God bless.
God bless.
Take care, Charlotte.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Craig Richardson. He's the president of the Energy and Environment Legal Institute. We're going to be talking about the new the Green New Deal is a prescription for poverty. Don't go away. We will be right back with our next guest.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for healthcare.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share. This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Once again, for rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Nasser, our next guest is with us. The honor of the introduction is yours.
Thank you, Rick. We have Craig Richardson, who is the president of the Energy and Environment Legal Institute. Craig is a seasoned professional with more than 25 years of experience. He's previously served as the executive director of the American Danish Business Council, Leadership for America's Future PAC, and a PAC founded by former Congressman Steve Largent. He's provided strategic communications and fundraising services to political clients, including former Majority Leader Tom DeLay. He's also worked on quite a number of re-election campaigns for several U.S. senators and U.S. representatives. Craig, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, good. Well, before we get into the article that you wrote, The Green New Deal, A Prescription for Poverty, give our viewers just a sort of a little bit of what exactly do you do on a day-to-day basis at the Energy and Environmental Legal Institute? Who do you help? How are you sort of positioned in terms of, when policies come out? Give us a sense of what you do at your company.
Sure. It's been a little bit of a moving target or changing role. When under the Obama administration, we felt like we were the guerrilla warfare. They were coming at us fast and hard, but what we were able to do with a couple of attorneys at that time, we had a very robust transparency practice, and so we opened up a lot of the backroom deals that were going on. We exposed the entire crew of attorneys general that were trying to shake down Exxon and all the conservative groups and stop the money flow. So we had our hands full there. And then thankfully, with the new president coming on board and pushing energy dominance, we were able to play more of a cheerleader role in the first year or two. And then now, unfortunately, with the change in leadership in the House and the likes of Nancy Pelosi taking over, and then some of these new characters coming to town, I find that we're going to probably go back to playing a little more of that guerrilla warfare. But, basically day to day, this is a communications challenge. In the end, we have a couple smart people that work with us, and we work with a larger coalition from CEI and other people, Heartland and other groups like that. So there's plenty of information on our side, plenty of details about what's going on. But the fact of the matter is, in the end, in America, and now this is really a communications battle. So we're trying to get our message out there, and not a very easy thing to do considering where the media is and everything else.
Well, in your article, I was doing a little research, and I want to quote, I think halfway down, you talk about, there's a quote actually by Varshini Prakash. He says, by developing a plan for a Green New Deal, says we have an opportunity to create millions of good-paying jobs, virtually eliminate poverty in the United States, and invest in a just transition for communities that have been left behind by racism and corporate greed. Now, he's a founder of the Sunrise Movement. Now, the one thing that I argue with a lot of my friends on the left, and even on the right sometimes, depending upon the rhinos that you're dealing with, is that why doesn't Mr. Prakash, if he feels these are going to create such great millions of good-paying jobs, why doesn't he start by doing it in his home country, India, first? And the reason that he can't do it over there is because if he decides, have you ever wondered why, if you ever were to go into India or Pakistan or whatever, and you couldn't have a parade out there that would say divest from oil? There is no way that was ever going to happen. And when you take a look at his website there, they're saying every one of the candidates below, they're talking about Ocasio-Cortez, which you talk about in the article, they rejected fossil fuel money and they're refusing to be bought out by oil and gas. And my question is, that has been the staple for capitalism from day one. So what, other than these people gaining money and power, what is the other reason that you know of that these people attack oil here in the United States?
Well, I think it's a multi-issue, and I don't want to disparage the entire movement, because I actually, this is a sad commentary, I actually think there are people that actually believe this. And they believe it because they start going to kindergarten and they tell everybody that the climate is boiling and the sea rises. And even though that you came to school in an SUV, which requires fossil fuel, and that phone that you're using requires fuel, and every electricity in this place requires traditional fuel, it's bad. And so, sadly, that's a part of an indoctrination campaign. That's where these people are, and I will give them a pass. That's the millennials, right? They just don't know what they don't know. Who is behind this ultimately, if you want to go all the way to the top, are the big money guys like Steyer, Bloomberg. Rockefellers have been hijacking this country for over 100 years. It's basically large, big interests trying to turn our energy system into what the Soviet Unions would have been proud about. I mean, it's a centralized government / corporate. They can play a little bit of the big corporation, big government game, but that's what the game is here. And then that trickles into politics. Steyer is the number one donor to the Democrats and has been the last 2-3 cycles. This is a huge political payoff for this guy. He can't win anywhere that he puts his money directly in, because when this issue of climate change is asked on a ballot, an open-ended question of what issues concern you, it comes out 30th out of 30.
Right.
And so what does he do? The next best thing is he buys Congress, and now he's got Congress because of the Democrats, and that's where their bread's buttered. So that's what, believe it or not, February, I don't know why they weren't smart enough to pick August, but February is going to be climate change month here in the U.S. House, and they're going to have one or two of the committees, and I don't know how many others are going to do this, but they're going to hold at least 6 or 7 hearings on climate change.
Well, Craig, one of the things is, and correct me if I'm wrong, am I wrong in my thinking that with these oil companies and gas companies and energy companies that are out there, they must know that for them to switch over is going to cost huge, millions and billions of dollars or whatever. So my question is, do they just try to utilize the political cover and then get the money and then really do try to maybe do some investment into these energy sources, but realize that it's nowhere near going to be as capable as gas and oil is right now? They're just sort of utilizing that money as free money that the government's giving them? Is that what's happening? Or
Yeah,
is it,
I mean, all of their motives, several, none of them are good. I mean, utilities are a monopoly. They get automatic 10% return. They're worse than some of the greenies. They're out there pushing this stuff wherever they can because it means government money, subsidies, infrastructure, all that. They don't care. They're going to pass that on to the ratepayers, as they're seeing in Europe. Some of it's for corporate feel-good stuff. But ExxonMobil, for example, I mean, they're all in on climate change. They're pushing a carbon tax. How about I came across something this summer when I did a presentation at Heartland. British Petroleum has a campaign now called Beyond Petroleum. It would be like Ford coming out with a campaign saying Beyond Motor Vehicles. I mean, I've been a marketing communications guy for 30 years. I've never heard anything so asinine. I mean, it's the stupidest thing I ever said. They sell fossil fuels, and they're coming up with a Beyond Petroleum campaign. And because some of the lefties have gotten into these boards, but they know, I mean, in the end, if you want to know the big picture, we don't have a free market in this country when you get to things like energy and phones and everything else. There are 3 or 4 companies. They're not concerned about market share, or you wouldn't have Gillette basically saying that, criticizing masculinity when 90% of its market is men. They don't have any competition, so they're all in on this sort of effort to try to. Part of this is a barrier to entry. The big companies are going to sign on to regulation that middle and smaller companies can't afford. Part of what's going on. Part of it's feel good. Part of it's they just think it's where they should be. But
Nasser, can I just jump in for a follow-up question with, by the way, our guest this segment is Craig Richardson. He's the president of the Energy and Environment Legal Institute. What you just said, Craig, about these large oil companies falling in line with these things, trying to figure out their logic and reasoning for this. Do you think that it could possibly be that it's going to make their product somehow more valuable?
Well, I mean, I think more valuable if you suddenly realize, like they did in 2008 when they sat around and decide which investment houses were going to make it and which wouldn't. Oh, Lehman Brothers, we don't like them. They're gone. I mean, so when you go from 6 to 8 corporations down to 3, absolutely. Or 5 if you're looking at the entire world. I mean, they're in bed with all these European governments. They're in bed with the United States government. They're no friends of the consumer. I mean, they've got a great product, but they're look at what's going on in. I mean, he's wearing a Super Bowl jersey, but the Super Bowl ad for Budweiser is featuring windmills. Windmills and they're promoting the fact that their beer is coming from. What happened to the scantily clad women playing volleyball?
Or the horses. Remember the horses? Clydesdale horses?
Wow, what a beautiful thing with the snow coming down. I mean,
yeah.
These guys have a wonderful. It's like when they're pulling down a statue of Robert E. Lee or something. I mean, these are sacred, and now they're going out promoting a dog and next to a windmill. I mean, the dog should be. Well, anyway, I wouldn't say we should do, but I mean, they don't care anymore. I mean, they don't care. You got Dick's Sporting Goods who's going after the NRA, and I mean, none of this makes any sense. And this was part of this presentation I gave this summer, because when you get to be that big, when you're too big to fail, and your number one business partner is the government, like the size of the United States, you don't care about your markets anymore. They don't care. Try to switch cell phones between Verizon and AT&T and see how much your bill actually changes. It won't change in the end. They've got the whole thing. They basically sit around and they say, okay, you take that part, I'll take this part. And it's a scary thing. I mean, it is. But that's we're off topic, but that's what this game is. And that's why we look around in our movement, which is predominantly graying older men for the most part. All the money, all the influence is gone the other way. Right. That's where.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is Craig Richardson. He's the president of the Energy and Environment Legal Institute. Craig, we have to take a quick break. Could you hold on for just a few moments for us, please?
Sure, absolutely.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. We're discussing the Green New Deal is the prescription for poverty. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our guest.
been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
Together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and our guest this segment is Craig Richardson. He's the president of the Energy and Environment Legal Institute. Craig, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Sure thing.
Your article, the Green New Deal is a prescription for poverty, and you write in here, the ugly truth is that a mandatory shift to higher cost solar and wind energy before the market is ready to support those, it would be minorities and the poorest of the poor who would probably be harmed. And you write in here that the poorest of the poor pay roughly 7.2% of their household income on energy costs, more than 3 times the proportion paid by higher income households on average. So this is, you point out here that this is really going to hurt low income families the most. I agree with you, but Craig, I will make the argument it's going to hurt everybody. It's also going to shrink our middle class and make more of the middle class poor. Can you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I was just isolating the ones that are going to be hurting the most. And we don't need to go very far than either California in this country or go to Europe where they've had these policies. And in classic British form, they have a euphemism for what they refer to as winter deaths, which are actually old people for the most part, and minorities that can't afford to pay their heating bill in the summer, and in the winter, they basically die. So they have tens of 10, 20, 30,000 a year of these people, up to 40,000 who are dying because they can't afford their. So that's where it's going to be most egregious. But I was in Charlotte last weekend. My son was in a hockey tournament down there. I saw gas at $1.91 a gallon. I mean, can you remember under Obama when it was almost $4 a gallon?
Oh, absolutely.
And if you have you've got a car with a 20-gallon tank. I mean, that's $8 versus I don't know what, $35.
I also remember Obama saying this is the new norm. You're never going to see gas for $2.50. That we cannot drill our way out of this, and I remember that very well too.
But you're absolutely right. This is going to affect not only from whoever, whether it's electric prices or gas prices, but think about the small businesses and the middle-sized businesses. I mean, where do you think those increased product costs are going to go? You think they're going to eat those? No, they're going to go right to the consumer. Everything gets more expensive. Energy is the most fundamental resource we have. It's what separates us from the developing countries. It's what makes us have the longevity we do. And you start screwing around with that, and you're going to have the whole thing come down. And that's why this is irresponsible, and it's just the same old packaged socialism that these folks, these charlatans, have been trying to push down our throat for 20, 30 years.
Right. Well, you mentioned Great Britain also in your article. You mentioned Germany and France. You say mandates in Germany have caused electricity rates to increase dramatically, with consumers paying $400 on a month on the average. In France, green energy policies have rendered 8 million households, representing roughly 12% of the population, no longer able to pay their electric bills. You also mentioned California, that this Green New Deal has been tried out there. Could you talk a little bit about the success or failure of it in California? Craig Richardson.
Shockingly, it's no different than in Germany, France, Ireland, UK. It's the same stuff. If you start taking away traditional energy sources, which are affordable, reliable, and accessible, and replace it with windmills and solar, you're going to get skyrocketing costs. And California's all in, which is why most of the normal people have already left, including some of the most corporations have gone from there too. I mean, they are trying to recreate the welfare socialist states of Europe, and that's what you're going to left with. And that's why their electric bills and their gas prices are through the roof. And not only that, they've got CARB, which is their environmental organization out there, is requiring anybody that deals with the state. Say a friend of mine runs one of the port companies out there. They have to, everything at their port has to be electric vehicles, no more gas powered forklifts, no more nothing. I mean, they're all in 100% on this, and it is showing, just like it's showing in Europe, that the bottom line is that the skyrocketing prices that people can't afford. Because really, in the end, they'll say, okay, well, that's okay, because the state's going to come in, and then we'll provide your health care, and we'll provide your fuel, and we'll provide everything. Don't worry your little head. You don't have to worry about anything, because we're going to provide everything. Well, and that's the game.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, her Green New Deal, arbitrarily and reckless 10-year time frame for moving all energy production to green sources would require many reliable plants to be taken offline far ahead of the scheduled retirement from services. Craig Richardson, I'll make the argument that we've already made the investment in these plants that are going to be taken offline.
Absolutely.
And if people say, well, wait, aren't these private companies? Yes, they may be private companies, but we as ratepayers have already paid for these plants already to be constructed in the first place. And I, like you, find this very unrealistic that you can make this turn on a dime and in 10 years have nothing but wind and solar. I mean, anybody with a brain should see that is just totally unrealistic.
Well, Chicago's about to get hit with the coldest temperatures probably in recorded history. You want to be running that on wind and solar this weekend? I mean, how many people are going to die? How many people would die if it was wind and solar?
Well,
and not only that, wind and solar is an intermittent power. You can't. It has to always have a traditional energy source underneath, or it'll go off.
Right. Well, I don't know about this polar vortex where Chicago's going to have wind chills of 60 below. I honestly saw an article today that said this was because of climate change. You know, if it's cold, it's climate change. If it's hot, it's climate change. If it's rain, it's climate change. If it's drought, everything, the answer is climate change. Craig Richardson, before I let you go, Nasser asked you about what do you guys do at the Energy and Environment Legal Institute, and you said, well, things are getting tougher now with the government shifting, or the House of Representatives shifting to Democrats. But for a minute, can we be positive? What were the positive advances in the energy field during the first 2 years of the Trump administration?
Well, I still had to pinch myself about a year into it, considering where we all thought the polls were going to go. I mean, we would have not had it. We would have the Green New Deal stuffed down our throat if we had had 16 years or 8 years of Obama and another 4 to 8 years of Hillary. It would have been over. I mean, so when this president came in and said, it ran on energy dominance, told the coal people in the coal country that he was going to return their jobs, return our economy, and that's exactly what he did. He got us out of Paris. He kicked the Clean Power Plan back to the EPA, the Waters of the U.S. rule. You know, I couldn't have not have dreamed that that's where we would have been the last 2 years. What we have to do now in the next 2 years, as difficult as that's going to be, is try to codify some of the things, because most of what our president did it with a stroke of a pen using executive order, because Congress is fairly dysfunctional. Unfortunately, unless we get some of those rules actually put in place in stone, these can all be undone by whoever has a different type of pen. So that's going to be a focus, but I know people are committed to doing that. And I know this president, as long as he's president, is committed to energy dominance.
All right. Craig Richardson, president of the Energy and Environment Legal Institute. Craig, please tell our audience where they could follow your work, read your articles, and find out more about energy.
Sure. It's eelegal.org.
eelegal.org. Again, Craig Richardson, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Great. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Stick with us. We're going to be talking about, get ready, California-style elections are coming to your state. A real stiff warning. Don't go away. We will be right back with our next guest.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Hartman, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect. How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right time. It's too late.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Once again, thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, the doctor for the Republic, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas, and in Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster, and Pittsburgh, Boulder in Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, and seen on the AUN television network in California. Dr. Sheikh, we have our next guest with us. Please make her feel welcome.
I will do so. Thank you, Rick. We have Ellen Swenson, who is the chief analyst for the Election Integrity Project in California, which is a citizen-funded, nonpartisan 501c3 corporation. Ellen, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, great. Well, we're going to be talking about your article about what you wrote. Get ready. California-style elections are coming to your state. Before we get into the article, I just wanted to ask you, what did you think of the win that Judicial Watch had in terms of basically saying that they're going to be purging nearly up to 1.5 million, or the beginning to start, if they do it. But
Well,
is that something that you were sort of in the in the background, sort of? Or?
Oh yes, we were the key plaintiff in that action.
Okay.
Judicial Watch was our attorney. Yes, so it's a win for not only Judicial Watch but for Election Integrity Project California, and most importantly, it's a win for the voters of California and actually the nation, because they have not the state has not been properly following the federal law that requires them to maintain the voter list in an accurate and timely manner. And it came to the point where we had to take legal action in order to force them or to coerce them to do their job. So they will begin. Los Angeles County is the first county, but they will have to address the 1.5 million inactive registrants they have who are inactive, but they can still walk in and vote. And they need to find out whether those people still exist or not. And if they don't, if they're not eligible anymore, then they need to cancel those registrations.
Now, are there entities like yours, for example, that are across the United States and together, or is this particularly just formed, obviously, just for the state of California?
Yeah, our organization is just based in California. There are other organizations in other states, and in fact, we are assisting other organizations in developing their data analyses and their structures and so on, so they can do the same thing that we're doing out here in California.
Now, the other thing is, can you sort of give us an idea of, one of the things is that in terms of, I think I have it here, is that when they are, what is this harvesting of ballots? Because, you try to get an idea of harvesting and you read online, but to give our sense of our audience, even myself, give us a better understanding of what does that mean and how did that play a part when people said double-digit percentages were eroded up in Orange County by the Republicans?
Well, what happened is we used to have a law in California that a vote by mail ballot could be returned by the voter themselves, or they could designate what's called a third party, which would be a close relative or someone actually living at their address, like a daughter, a parent, or a roommate. And number one, they were not following that law for the most part. We have observers we put out into elections, and they were constantly reporting that third party person, people other than the allowed third party, were returning ballots. And so we made a complaint about that, and instead of complying with the law, they simply changed the law. So now anybody can handle and return a vote by mail ballot. So now what's happening is that these activist groups and political campaigns can get their volunteers or their paid people out to actually go to the neighborhoods and collect ballots, potentially coerce, potentially discard certain ballots. They can't be paid per ballot, so that's the one restriction, and they have to register in advance that they're going to be doing this. But this is what happened this last election. The Democrat Party had a better ground game than the Republican Party, I guess, and so those ballots that were dropped off at the last minute got counted later after Election Day, and that's where those double-digit leads got dissolved.
So in other words, the Democrats actually were, like you said, they outmaneuvered the Republicans in this.
Yeah, so it's actually legal now to do this harvesting. It's probably not constitutional. It's probably going to be challenged, I hope. We hope we be part of that challenge, because it's the chain of custody of that ballot is then in question. It really should go from the voter directly back to the voting office, but or to the polling place. But when someone is in between handling it, we don't know what happens, and it's possible that it opens the door for coercion, bribery, discarding of the ballots. It's just, and then also it creates that people are being harassed in the neighborhoods, and that's not right either.
I mean, that's the thing, for example, is that, I don't know, Rick, maybe, you've been at this a lot longer than I have, but have you ever seen where it's the opposite, where, leads of double digits are evaporate on the Democrat side?
No, I haven't, Nasser, but we've seen and we've heard many stories of voter fraud, and how our good friend Sharon Angle, co-host on this show, polls showed her with a 6 to 7 point lead. The exit polls showed her with a 6 to 7 point lead over Harry Reid. But when all the ballots were counted, and I mean all the ballots were counted, she lost. And, I think that Ellen is more of an expert on this, can speak on this more than I can, but because there are places in California, and please jump in, Ellen, correct me, that you have more people registered than people who would be of age to vote in certain counties. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, that was the basis of our lawsuit with Judicial Watch.
Right.
That was the irrefutable evidence. You know, we can complain, and we've complained about hundreds of thousands of dead people and duplicates and so on the rolls. But when that actual number of people on the voter rolls in 11 counties exceeds the eligible citizen population for those counties, then you have irrefutable evidence, and that's what Judicial Watch used in the lawsuit that we were a part of. So, and that really, I mean, that's, how can they argue that's all right? But the other thing that happened with this overturning of these elections in Southern California and Orange County in particular is that there on election day, and we observed this out there in the polls, we had thousands, probably and possibly hundreds of thousands of vote-by-mail voters who did not receive their mail ballot on election day. So they came to the polls and they had to vote provisionally. This created a surge in provisional ballots. For example, Los Angeles County is normally about 100,000 provisional ballots in a midterm election. They had 400,000 provisional ballots in this last election, in this last midterm. That's 300,000 more, and they attributed it to mail voters, people who normally vote by mail, who did not receive a ballot, had to come to the polls, but they did not have a ballot to surrender, so they had to vote provisionally. So those provisional ballots were also counted late after the election, and those were also a source of the change in the results from election night. So there are two things went on: these harvested vote-by-mail ballots and these provisionals that people were forced to vote. We don't know if the missing ballots were stolen or something. We don't know what happened, but the counties I've spoken with so far have denied that anything went wrong in terms of their mailing out of those ballots.
Nasser, if you could, let me just ask Ellen a question about these provisional ballots. Could they also have been people who were not on the voter rolls?
Yes.
That went to vote and they weren't on the rolls. They were given
that's the normal reason that you have provisional voting. And our rolls are so messed up that we have more provisional ballots cast in California than all the other states combined. It's a big problem. It shows we have messy voter rolls. But this time, we haven't gotten the data yet, but I believe the number one reason this time will be people did not receive their mail ballot. And they had to vote provisionally. So we'll be monitoring that and try to find out what happened to all those missing ballots.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with Ellen Swenson. She's the chief analyst for the Election Integrity Project California, a citizen-funded, nonpartisan 501c3 corporation. And we're discussing an article that Ellen wrote, Get Ready, California-style elections are coming to your state. We got to take a quick break. Please hold on for us. And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. We will be right back.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for healthcare.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for healthcare.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasser Sheikh, and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcasts of our shows, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. You can find our radio version there. Our television version can be found at conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Our guest this segment is Ellen Swenson. She's the chief analyst for the Election Integrity Project of California, a citizen-funded, nonpartisan corporation. Ellen, we're discussing your article. Get ready, California-style elections are coming to your state. And you have in your article that California election officials and legislators have turned our elections into a free-for-all with few safeguards, all in the name of voter access. Could you talk about what has changed?
Yes, in fact, we've been a corporation since 2010, and just in that short time, these last 8 years, we have seen new initiative after new initiative being passed by the legislature and put into effect. That is a good thing. You know, we want to improve voter access and make it easier to register and easier to vote. But the problem is they come without safeguards, and the typical pattern has been there's an initiative passed, everyone's all excited about the access it's going to provide. It's launched right before an election with very little, if any, testing, and then we have technical problems and other issues. For example, in 2012, one of the first initiatives we saw was online registration, which is a great thing. But we were concerned, and so were some of the other legislators, that there were a few safeguards on that, because we don't have the technology to really be able to properly bring in a new registration, make sure it's not a duplicate, and so on. Well, right away, they launched it right in September, right before the election of 2012, and we immediately found over 6,000 people who had duplicated their registrations using the online system. So they were already registered, they then re-registered. I'm not saying they did it on purpose or not, we don't know. And then later we saw that 113 of those people actually voted twice in that election. So they used this new online system, which should have caught that they were already registered, but it didn't. And that's a big problem with other initiatives as well. We have, for example, conditional voting now, where you can register and vote on the same day. But we know by looking at our databases in California that it's not technologically advanced enough to be able to find people who are already registered. I mean, I have people registered 5 times at the same address, and the system is not even catching that. Okay, so then how can they conditionally register, then vote that very moment, and you can't pull that vote back out of the tally? So that's another example. Yeah, it feels good to let people do it right on real time, but where's the safeguard? It's not there.
Well, we do need safeguards. We do need voter ID. I'll tell you another thing we need, Ellen. We need prosecutions. We need prosecutions of these people that are voting illegally, and prosecutions with real teeth, not just slaps on the wrist, but real. You also, in your article, you talked about the motor voter law out in California. Could you talk about those perils?
Yes, that is what's called the new motor voter program of California. And what it is, it's automatic registration, which this new House bill that's one of their tenets of the new House bill, is everybody would get registered automatically if they transact with a DMV or a welfare office or whatever. Again, that sounds good, but the problem is when they launched it right before the June 2018 election, and they immediately misregistered 23,000 people. They also had a lot of ineligible people registered. People's political parties were changed without their knowing it. And also, very importantly, many were changed to vote by mail. They were poll voters. They simply updated their driver's license, yet they were changed to vote by mail. And on election day in November, we had hundreds of incidents recorded by our observers of people walking in to vote normally at the poll. They were told they were a mail voter without their knowledge or consent, and they did not receive a mail ballot, like I was saying earlier. Even though they had been changed by the DMV to mail voter, they did not get a ballot, had to vote provisionally. And again, that added to the surge. We looked up, we have many witnesses who are willing to sign witness statements for us, and we'll be using those hopefully in a future lawsuit. But we looked up their registrations because we have access to their information, and we found that the majority of them had transacted with the DMV in the recent past. And so we know that that's what the source of this problem is. So imagine if the federal government makes every state do this, it's going to be a disaster. Not even, putting aside the fact that they're meddling in state, federal meddling in state elections goes against the concept of federalism, but also that I don't think we have the technology to be able to handle that many new registrations.
Well, your article, Get Ready, California Elections Are Coming to a State, coming to your state, and a lot of people think it can't happen. But for instance, in New Jersey, you got a governor out there, Phil Murphy, who's proud to say his envy, his idol is California, and he wants to make New Jersey just like it. But what I wanted to ask you, Ellen, is what about poll watchers? Are they powerless to stop this from happening?
Well, poll watchers we actually have our own poll watchers that we call them observers, that we train in the law, and then we put out into the polls. And then they document everything in an evidentiary manner, signed under penalty of perjury and so on. Then we bring that in, and our analysts, we code those and we database those, and then we create reports. In fact, I'm working on a report right now. Our hope is those poll observers themselves don't have any clout in the polling place, but we as an organization have clout. And again, we probably have to go through some kind of legal action because we tend to get ignored out here. But we did this with Judicial Watch and it worked, and we're hoping to take some further action. But to find out, what happened to all those missing ballots, find out why the DMV is so messed up, and press charges or press legally to try to get that remedied.
California is the largest population state in the country. And the problem there is with census taking, with illegals, with illegal voting, California is going to be getting probably an additional 5 congressional seats. Can you foresee a time in the future when somebody is going to try to void California elections totally from being counted towards the federal or towards federal elections?
I think that would be a very difficult thing to do because we have a constitution, and that would be very difficult. And you don't want to silence the voice of all the California voters. However, I think it's a good move that our president and our current administration is wanting to ask about citizenship on the upcoming census. Now, California is fighting that tooth and nail, but what will happen is if we can prove that we have so many citizens, so many non-citizens in California, it might actually reduce the number of House seats that California has down, because right now we're counting illegals in that population when we assign different congressional districts.
Ellen Swenson, Chief Analyst for the Election Integrity Project California. Please take a couple of minutes and tell our audience about the Election Integrity Project, how they can get involved, how they could possibly help you out.
Okay, great. Well, we started in 2010, like I said. I'm a co-founder, and we were just grassroots people coming out of the Tea Party movement, honestly, and we were looking for something to do to help our country and our state. And we saw that there's a big need for citizen oversight in this state. So we developed the organization, and we slowly developed our own proprietary data queries. We learned we had volunteer SQL programmers and so on, and we have our own server, and we're very careful about security of the data. But we became very expert in how to look at voter lists and look and see if there's any anomalies in there. Also how to report them using legal language and so on. We had to create a big organization of poll observers, and so we work hard. It's more than a full-time job for all of us, and we're all unpaid.
Well, I gotta say, you guys are great. You really are, and your win along with Judicial Watch to get the voter rolls, the voter registration rolls, at least in Los Angeles County. When I first saw it, I said, this is huge. This is what we need in every county.
Yeah, and I think how it can help too is we have, we're always looking for donations, of course, because we're citizen funded. So our website is eip-ca.com, and or you can Google Election Integrity Project California. We always can use, because it's out of pocket and small donations that we rely on. And then I would say for how people can help the country is in their own state to keep an eye out, because this House bill might not pass. It won't pass the Senate in full.
Wait, stop. What House bill? Explain that.
Oh, I'm sorry. The H.R. 1, which is the House bill that I was warning about in my article, saying that the first legislative act of the new House under the Democrats is to bring some of these California laws to national. And so that's what my article is warning against. But if it doesn't, it'll pass the House, but it potentially, and parts of it might pass the Senate. But the real area to be careful of is what we've experienced in California, which is your state legislatures might start passing these same kind of laws. And in fact, Alex Padilla, our Secretary of State, he's the head of the Democratic Secretaries of State Association. So he's trying to push the Democratic Secretaries of States in other states to do similar things to California. So I would monitor your own state legislatures and look out for California-style laws and try to defeat them, or at least try to have safeguards put in.
All right. Ellen Swenson, Chief Analyst for the Election Integrity Project California. We want to thank you so much for not just coming on our show, but what you are doing for California and the country to assure clean, honest, and fair elections. Ellen, one more time, please give out your website, how they could follow your work and help you guys out.
Okay. Well, we're called Election Integrity Project California, Inc. is our actual name, but our website is eip-ca.com. And we're different from Judicial Watch's Election Integrity Project. They have the same name, but we are the California-specific organization. So we welcome donations or anything you can do. And again, pay attention in your own states.
Yeah, and from what I understand, it was you guys, the Election Integrity Project, who brought Judicial Watch in. But I'll tell you, as I said, when I heard about your win out there in California, I was very excited that somebody is finally doing something to clean up the voter registration.
Thanks for bringing attention to it on air, too.
All right. Thank you. Take care, and God bless.
Okay. Bye-bye.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasser Sheikh and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. Nasser and I will be right back after this break with more.
My healthcare costs were going to double this year.
Doubled.
Doubled.
It was down to healthcare or my student loans.
I found a better way.
It's neighbors helping neighbors.
Liberty Health Share.
It's freedom from insurance.
At Liberty Health Share, we support each other and keep health costs down.
We're changing the way you're paying for health care.
This is the way it should be.
We're all in this together.
We're changing the way you pay for health care.
The movement to help each other is growing.
Liberty Health Share.
This is the way it should be.
This is how I make a difference.
Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The third-party pay system is the culprit. It's taking money out of our pockets. Liberty Health Share has solved that issue by being self-pay patients sharing our medical bills. Liberty Health Share is a grassroots movement all across America where people are abandoning the insurance model and instead are meeting each other's costs in community with one another.
Well, Nasser, I want to thank you so much for sitting in today as my co-host. I always enjoy spending this time working with you to save our country.
Absolutely, Rick. It's an honor and a pleasure to be co-hosting with you as well. I'd like to go ahead and thank our guests. Our first guest is Charlotte Hayes. She is the Director of Cultural Programs at the Independent Women's Forum, and she's going to be talking about her article, Illegal Immigrants and Crime. We also have Mr. Craig Richardson. He is the President of the Energy and Environment Legal Institute, and he's going to be talking about how the Green New Deal is a prescription for poverty. And finally, our last guest is Ellen Swenson, who is a chief analyst. She's actually a concerned citizen who is really taking on the polling inaccuracies that are occurring in California. She is the chief analyst for a company called Election Integrity Project California. It's citizen funded, it's nonpartisan, and she's going to be talking about, you better be ready, because a lot of these election styles that are going on in California, they may be coming to a state near you. So 3 great guests on 3 different variety of topics, Rick. They only appear here on the Conservative Commandos radio show.
That's right. You're not going to get this information from the liberal left of mainstream media. But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. And we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.